When it comes to taking your iPhone further, there isn't a company like HitCase, the Crio or Crio, depending on how you're going to read it, as another example of HitCase letting us do really awesome things with their iPhones. Some of the funnest videos I've shot has been with HitCase products, and some of my fondest memories have been captured on an iPhone in a HitCase product. My biggest problem with some of HitCase's products is the size. Like the HitCase Pro is a beast of a case. Even though the HitCase Pro has evolved significantly over the last few years, it has reached a point where you could almost use it like a day-to-day case, but it's still very, very large. With the Crio, they've removed the bulk while still allowing you to use whatever lens you want to and more. The magnetic lens mounting system is way easier to use than the screw-on method that you would with the ExoLens, or the snap-on lens of the Olloclips, or the large camera holder you would find on the Ztylus Revolver. Now for my HitCase Crio review, or Crio, I've given this case a score of 4 A's out of 5. It's a decent camera case, but there's a couple of flaws to it which I'll point out throughout this entire video. If you're a content creator like an Instagrammer or a blogger or a Facebooker, and you're looking for a camera case, this HitCase product should be at the top of your list, or one of the 3 products that you would consider. The ease of use is what makes the Crio so special. I will note that the Crio is probably better suited for video work than still photographs, which I'll elaborate in a few minutes. For the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about the case, the lenses, and compare the quality of the newer lenses against, well, HitCase's older ones. So, well, let's get to it.
Real usage, real reviews. Mobile Reviews A.ca.
At Mobile Reviews A, Monty and I base all our reviews on actual usage, and we've been watching these case manufacturers for so long that it's kind of neat to watch them evolve their products. From my perspective, the Crio is going to be an evolution of the HitCase Snap, which was a camera case that we reviewed a couple of years ago. Now, in order to bring you this review, I've strapped this product to my chest while trying to do a ring muscle up with it, and it kind of hurt. I did go driving with it to see if the case messes with the iPhone's OIS, and I did take a lot of pictures with the different lenses. When it comes to just case design, the Crio is closer to a Caudabe Sheath or a Matte Black Spigen Liquid crystal. It's thin and it's light, which means it doesn't add a lot of bulk to your iPhone. The case generally fits the iPhone quite well, but the ones you're seeing in this video are prototypes, so the final fit on the final product should be a bit better. I will note that the buttons on the iPhone 8 Plus are a little tougher, mostly because the iPhone doesn't sit perfectly in it because, well, there's this magnet thing that you can see on the back of the case. The camera attachment points work quite well, as the lenses just effortlessly snap on. There isn't a lot of finagling you have to do to ensure the perfect fit. Again, this system beats the threaded lenses like the ExoLens, as it eliminates the chance that you'll miss the thread and spend, 10-15 seconds furiously trying to thread the lens onto the case. The lens generally stays on under normal movement even if you shake it a bit, so you won't be losing the lenses as you move from shot to shot in normal circumstances. The lens does pop off easily with a bit of pressure from the bottom, so do be careful. You don't want to be accidentally KOing your lenses on a concrete sidewalk. Now, I was a little curious to know if the lenses would stay on during slightly more aggressive movement, so I strapped my iPhone X in the Crio with a wide-angle lens to my chest and did a bunch of gymnastic stuff to see if the lens would fall off. In general, if you're planning on doing stuff like that, then just go with the HitCase Pro. So it does stay on, but the thing I want to point out is that if you are planning on doing anything that, involved physically, go with the HitCase Pro. This product is built to be strapped to your chest, whereas I had to really jimmy up the entire setup on my chest. And if you watch this slow motion blurry footage of my first attempt, you'll notice that, yeah, the camera actually hits my face and it hurt like the dickens. And the camera lens did come off. So, any sort of jostling, so if I was to do that, the lens is gonna pop off. So you just gotta be aware. Now we all know, and my face is better for it, or worse off for it. The texture on the case is a bit mild for my liking, especially when you consider that the iPhone in the Crio will be put into slightly more compromising positions for videos and photos. The cases I'm showing you in the video, again, are pre-production cases, and I've been told that the coating has been improved, so if you do get one, let me know. To ensure maximum safety for your iPhone, I would also suggest getting their magnetic tripod mounted as well. Now, all this kind of goes out the window because HitCase does include the ability to attach a wrist strap to the case. Sure, the texture is a little more mild, but it doesn't really matter when it's, attached to your body. The Crio also comes with a magnet on the back of the case, which makes it compatible with your favorite magnetic car mounts, but it also negates the ability to charge your iPhone through Qi charging. Now, from my perspective, this isn't a bad thing since Qi charging in general is quite quite useless. I tried charging my iPhone only for a week using Qi chargers, and my battery basically didn't come out of low power mode the entire time. When it comes to protection, the Crio will offer the corners of your iPhone 2-meter drop protection, which seems like a lot given how thin the case is, but personally, I wouldn't drop my iPhone from 6 feet in the Crio for fun, but I'm quite confident it will handle any day-to-day mishaps without any issues. The corners of the case have ribs in them which create air pockets for the corners of your iPhone, which adds to that drop protection. Now when it comes to screen protection, the Crio has a very small lip, so do get a screen protector, preferably a plastic one. So when a face-first drop does happen, you don't chip the edges of the glass. This happens because the case isn't rigid enough, which is why I say the Crio is only going to offer the corners of your iPhone 2 meters worth of drop protection. Accessing the iPhone in the Crio is average in the way that it doesn't get in the way of accessing anything on your device. If you're finding this video entertaining or useful, consider getting all your Amazon stuff through my links. HitCase did send me these products, but didn't compensate me for the iPhone that I dropped, as well as all the time that I spent doing this entire review. So any sort of help would be grateful. If you're looking at Monty, you'll notice that he's got like morning whiskers. It's 5:30 in the morning right now, and it's kind of the only time I can film stuff before my kid gets up. And you could definitely pick up his screaming if I film it any later in the day. But on to the lenses. Now, I'm a big fan of the magnetic aspect of this product, but HitCase still sent me a bunch of baggies to store these lenses in. Now I know that putting them in a bag is the simplest solution, but with the magnetic attachment capability, surely there must be a way to make the lens storage different and more efficient. I will note that these newer lenses will still work with HitCase's newer cases, as they have a thread, which is kind of a value add in my opinion. Now for the next part, I took a series of photos between the older videos on a HitCase Pro for the iPhone 7s and 8s and the Crio on the iPhone 10. So when it comes to wide-angle lenses, well, on the one on the right is the older one, and the one on the left is the newer one, and they actually look almost identical except for the small metal magnet at the bottom of the lens. I still see the same distortion along the edges of the photographs for both lenses. I've done many comparisons with wide-angle lenses from HitCase, so if you want to see how they compare against other camera cases, I do encourage you to check out the reviews for the ExoLens and the Olloclip. Now HitCase sent me 2 lenses to use with the Crio, and I initially thought that the big blue lens was another super wide lens. I put on the Crio and noticed that everything was blurry, and my initial thought was brutal, followed by, well, yeah, I'm an idiot, as I realized, well, the lens is actually a macro lens. This new macro lens is much larger than their old one, so it has to be better, right? It is actually better, but it's really hard to tell when you're taking macro shots. Why? Because the depth of field on these macro lenses are quite shallow, so it's really hard to see the distortion along the corner of the photographs. For the most part, every macro shot I took between the 2 different lenses was somewhat similar. The only way that I can tell that the newer lens was better was by shooting an out-of-focus object from, well, this time it was only like 3 centimeters away, but the photo is at the edge of the countertop, and as you can see, there's very little distortion along the edge of the lens on the new lens. And so, bigger new macro lens, definitely better. Now, the last thing I really wanted to know was, does the OIS get messed up with this magnetic piece right by the cameras? Now, Apple in their accessory guidelines doesn't outright say don't use magnets, but magnets on cases is generally frowned upon because it messes up with the radios and potentially the OIS. To see if there was a difference, I went for a quick drive during a snowstorm and recorded the Crio on the iPhone 10 and with the Crio off, and from what I can tell, or as you can see, the magnetic lenses do not interfere with the OIS on the iPhone 10's camera, which is nice, good, sweet. So with all that information taken into consideration, at the very beginning of the video I said this product is probably going to be better for videos than it is for photographs, and I say that mainly because of the distortion along the edges of these lenses. The wide-angle lens, you definitely notice the distortion. When it comes to the video, if you were to shoot video with it, the distortion is less. So it really depends on what you're trying to do with it. If you really want to take sharp, wide-angle photos, then this might not be the best product. But if you're shooting videos a lot, say for like Instagram and whatnot, then yeah, this HitCase product is probably going to be, it's probably one of the better ones to get for the stuff that you are planning on shooting. So if you have any questions or comments, leave them down there in the comments section below. If this is the first time you're watching my videos, subscribe. That's kind of all I got, right, my snout-haired buddy? Yeah, we're all pretty tired here. Thanks for watching.